All right, what's happening, everyone? I hope you're doing well. Welcome back to another client interview. I'm with one of our wonderful clients, Jeremy, and it's super funny because just before every interview I do, I always like to speak with clients before recording to get a pulse check on, their progress and whatnot. Jeremy just told me, no, you need to start recording now because I'm just going to give you everything up front. So, Jeremy, take it away right off the rip.
What's going on, Nor? Thank you so much. Jeremy Gottwall's here. I have so many amazing things to say about EasyGrow, the EasyGrow and Imperium team, and of course Charlie Morgan. Holy diver, I gotta say, I've been in the agency space a long time, and it's really funny because I love how early in the trainings Charlie's like, yeah, I don't really consider like experience in terms of years to be like that big of a deal. It's not necessarily a measurement of like necessarily how great you are. And it's funny because I've also met people who have been in the space longer than I have, and I see what Charlie means when he says that. But wow, it's been one hell of a start to the year. And it's funny because actually to that point we should be much further along. And we should be much further along for what we have learned, what we know. But there's some context there, and it's just like all of the context I have to share with you can be summed up in a few bite-sized pieces, which is that 5 years ago we figured out how to achieve a certain degree of scale. And, it's exactly as Charlie says in the acquisition Genesis modules. We were that agency 5 years ago. We were that agency that had the 100K month, declared themselves kings, and then followed by a 40K month, right? And so Charlie talks about some raw shit that if you haven't lived it, you just listening to the modules and you're like, yeah, okay. But really, very, very real stuff. The tiniest cracks in your ship can cause, and your ship can be beautiful, like on the outside. Like your ship can have the best team, even, but the tiniest cracks in that submarine, once you start applying the pressure of spending $10,000 a week, once you start applying that kind of pressure to managing a bunch of people, the tiniest cracks can totally destroy you. And that's what happened 5 years ago.
Mhm.
And so I had, gosh, it's been pain. It's been pain, and it's been long, and it's been hard. But I have to say that we had a whole year of just like recovering and figuring out even what had happened. And we've spent a lot of time since then, since this incident, since the events that happened a few years ago. We've spent a lot of time just understanding and investing in Imperium, investing in EasyGrow, and in this program has been kind of the necessary catalyst to take us to the next stage. And it's so wild because as I went through self transcendence and acquisition genesis. And by the way, we're having our team take the modules. I had one of our, we
Nice.
had two of our team members have finished self transcendence, blew them away. I told them it would, and I promised them because I told those because these guys are not on my C suite. These are not co-founders necessarily. Well, no, Bryce and my chief of staff's technically on my C-suite, but these are not like co-founders. But I'm saying to these guys who are just members of the team, you have to watch Self Transcendence. You just trust me.
Yeah.
The distance between where you want to be and where we are today is in watching some of this content. And so they
Yeah.
did, and they took it very seriously. And now we've got more people, and what we've decided is just that, what, anyone who we want to be a part of the core team is going to watch Self Transcendence
Amazing.
now.
Yeah.
But let's talk about like some very tiny tactical things that resulted in just some immediate improvement to the health of the business.
Yeah.
So,
Jeremy, before you cook, right?
yeah,
You let it rip straight away, which is amazing. But for people watching, right? What would if you can introduce yourself, right? Who
yeah,
you are, the marketing
sure,
agency, the background and whatnot, that'd
yeah,
be fantastic, man. Then I'm
yeah.
absolutely gonna let you rip it because I really want to get into this properly with you, man.
Absolutely. So my name is Jeremy Gottwalls. I'm the founder of Holon or Holon Publishing. That's HOLON.co, holon.co. And we've been in business for a long time. We are an agency that focuses on helping people publish successful best-selling books and build brands and build businesses around their publishing. So we
Amazing.
have kind of a suite of things that we do for anyone who wants to publish a successful book. And we used to focus on just CEOs and thought leaders, but
Hmm.
we've had fiction authors and poets go on to invest six figures with us. So it's not just CEOs and business leaders who invest a lot of money in a book. And so we provide kind of an end-to-end solution for anyone who's like, hey, I want to publish a book and they want to do it successfully. They come to us from idea. They can just have the idea to publish a book and our writers can help them. We do hybrid, done for you and done with you. So, and that's actually a big part of like the big leap that we're making right now is in really figuring out the done with you product is going to really just is
Yeah.
already changing our lives,
Amazing.
and increasing the price of the done for you product. And I've been in the agent space a long time. I actually had multiple agencies, but this company Holon, I started Holon in late 2011. And actually, I was 21 years old when I started Haul On in late 2011, and I was playing guitar on the street for groceries, literally like weeks before I founded Haul On, and now
Wow.
I have a family. The company is able to generate enough cash flow for us to have a small team and for it to
Beautiful.
provide a nice lifestyle for my family. So.
Amazing.
Um, yeah, but big quantum leaps are happening right now, and it
Yeah.
came right in the gate. It's funny because I waited, I hesitated to pull the trigger with Imperium, not because I wasn't sold, but because we just kind of were having a tough time with liquidity. We were having a tough time last year. Actually, in the middle of last year, we lost a pretty healthy amount of cash flow. We lost 20,000 a month in the middle of last year,
Wow.
which set us back quite a bit. And so that's kind of where we were when I discovered Charlie and Imperium and EasyGrow. And but I knew, I was like, we need help. And I was like, and I've invested in courses and I've had other agency gurus and I've been through all of that and I've had other mentors but something about you guys, something about Imperium and Charlie Morgan just really stood out to me. The messaging was just so there. I'm just like, okay, these guys know, they don't just know their target audience, they've been their target audience. And
Yep.
I could just tell instantly that you guys were different. I could just feel it. And I could just feel it. I could taste it. You can taste the difference. And hilariously, I don't know how I missed this. I did not expect that I was going to be spending nearly as much time as I have been in the modules. I thought I was going to hop onto the coaching calls and that's where I was going to live. And ironically, it's been the opposite. And I say that is ironic because I fully expected that, like, the coaches were going to be the main resource for us. But the modules, I have to say, defeated my expectations completely, just above and beyond what I expected. So much so that I can't get enough. I just can't get
Yeah.
enough. And but right there, acquisition genesis from the very beginning, completely it just connected very deep with everything I've lived over the last 15 years, all of the war stories I have, but it also just made me just really take apart the entire business. It just made me take apart the entire business and my entire life. And it just made me take everything apart in a good way and just look at all the pieces on the table. And to some extent, we're still doing that, but we were able to immediately look at just a couple of key things and tweak those tiny little things and instantly see results. One of those was very simple, just collecting more cash up front. Like, it seems like so obvious, and yet not. And then also more than doubling our minimum offer, like our
Hmm.
minimum entry point, like we doubled that. So our current minimum thing is 12K. That's our minimum thing. And we do have clients who like go on to invest six figures. We've got a couple of those right now. One who's paying 10K a month, one who's paying 5K a month. And so that's what our cash collection showed for December, is that we only collected
Amazing.
15K in December, but we collected 33K in January. And we were able to do that with only without we were able to collect more than double cash in January without increasing our like without necessarily
Yeah.
increasing our workload that much. So
When you joined us, Jeremy, sorry, when you joined us from a cash standpoint, where were you at? Was it around the 15?
I was hovering around 20, but not consistently. So it was 15 reoccurring, but
Mm-hmm.
I would like we have a lot of we'll have like these in the fall we were doing these small deals that were kind of like survival mode deals. And I those are have caused a lot of pain for us. And ironically, the lowest paying clients are the ones who cause the most stress and are the most expensive. The lowest paying clients are the most expensive clients. And it was like I knew that a long time ago, but for some reason it's hard to listen to your own common sense. And coming in right into EasyGrow was like, hey, come on. And like one of the first things that hit me right away when I was studying these modules was just like, we have to raise our minimum standard or we're always going to be living in the same rut. It's like if we don't and we have to be merciless. We have to commit to a direction. We have to commit to standards. If we don't commit to some baseline, and even 12K feels actually too low for how much value we give for 12K. So we might even take all of our done for you deliverables out of the 12K offer and just do the done with you coaching at the 12K area. And we'll be talking to the Easy Grow coaches about that. But like we sold a that and it's called Author Ascension. Okay, and that's another thing too, is that like we're just the way that our organization is thinking as a result of these trainings is completely elevated. And I dare say that while there's so many things in this program that are not new information,
Mm-hmm.
and yet I'm connecting with it in a way that is new. And I am connecting also with new information, but with new perspective. It's also validating a lot of things I've believed in the past, but that maybe, I don't know, I was like, there were still little doubts in my head. And when you get into the program, you can really begin to face those doubts and unpack those doubts and unpack beliefs, because it really just comes down to beliefs. Right down to even our offers. And it's exactly like what Charlie says right there at the beginning of Acquisition Genesis, which is like your offer is one of the most asymmetric
Yeah.
things that you can work on. And so we tweaked our offer just slightly. We gave it a new name, Author Ascension. That's like our minimum offer. And then we made Author Ascension Plus. So Author Ascension is a 12K program. Author Ascension Plus is a 25K program. We sold one of each in January, and we collected 12.5 from one and we collected $6,000 from the other. And
Nice.
both of those clients are off to a great start. Both of those clients are off to a great start. And this month is looking to be even better. We just signed our middle tier program. We just signed a 40K deal, and we're looking to
Mm.
collect 10 down from that today. He has signed the contract over the weekend. He was setting up a new account, so we let him just kind of take his time.
Yeah.
We're pretty good. We have a pretty good feeling he's going to pay. That was one where we wanted to collect half down, but he asked if he could do 10. And we're just like, yeah, like 10, like
Let's do it.
collecting
Yeah.
10, I'm not, yeah,
Yep.
I'm never going to be mad about collecting 10 grand, and so it's just like,
Yeah.
sure. But that whole thing about I can already see though, what Charlie says right there in Acquisition Genesis. If you sell a 10K thing, a 40K thing, a whatever thing, collecting half of that cash down, I can't believe I didn't just lean into that sooner, because it's not the first time I've thought it. It's not the first time I've heard it. And yet, listening to Acquisition Genesis and listening to Charlie, I'm just like, yeah, we got to do that, because if we're not, truly, we already do too much for what we charge. And so it's like if we're not collecting more of that cash down, it's killed us in the past. Like I'll give you an example. We had offer part of why we are just now getting to a place where we're really healthy again and there's a lot of momentum and we're seeing cash start to stack in the bank. Part of why we had the opposite of that reality even in the past when we had double the cash, even when we've had more cash flow in the past, like more revenue, gross revenue, but have had been worse. We're better off today with less revenue than we've had in the past, but we're healthier and we're watching the cash in the account grow. And it's because of these committing to these minimum standards. It's also because of like really actually doing less for more. It's also because like we're optimizing differently, we're thinking about the business differently. And but one of those things right there off the bat is like, your offer is one of the most asymmetric things that you can work on. And I knew what's funny is that like before joining the program, I knew that the offer was going to be one of the biggest secrets to unlocking our potential. And right off the bat, I was thinking about our offer better, thinking about our offer differently. And even though I have 30,000 hours, not an exaggeration, over almost 15 years, 30,000 hours in sales calls, coaching calls, consulting meetings with my clients, with authors and business leaders and coaches and with my target niche. I have over 30,000 hours of consulting and sales calls, and yet in spite of having 30,000 hours already on the phone and in meetings with these people, hopping right into EasyGrow elevated my critical thinking and deep listening skills. And it elevated the kind of questions I'm asking prospects and elevated the way that I'm connecting with the prospects. It elevated the way, even though like I have over a decade and a half of understanding the pain of my people, hopping into EasyGrow deepened my
Yeah.
understanding of the pain, deepened and added nuance to the way I understand the pain of the people who spend good money with us.
Yeah.
And another thing is like right away, right in there in EasyGrow, I'm like, we need to work with a very specific type of client. And I think part of what crippled us in the past was trying to serve anyone and everyone. And working with a very specific type of client, our most successful clients, our happiest clients, not only do they pay the most, but they fit a certain they're a different makeup of human. They don't care about petty shit, they're not obsessing over dumb things, and so really setting those minimum standards. We still have some work to do on our offers, but holy diver, just the smallest tweaks have already made them better, collecting more cash down. And
Mm-hmm.
then also just the way that we handle sales calls, the way that and then our lifestyle. Full transparency, I was already doing great things for my lifestyle before self
Mm-hmm.
transcendence. And it's funny though, after I finished self transcendence, I realized, guys, 5 years ago, when when we previously experienced a certain version of scale, um, if I had the lifestyle then that I have today, we probably would have come out we would have been way more successful. Like we would just like, you know,
Mm.
I go to CrossFit, I eat really great, I hydrate, I get great sleep, I
That's
consume
awesome.
very little alcohol. But 5 years ago, that wasn't, but 5 years ago, before I had kids, it wasn't the case. 5 years ago, I was, a party animal. And so I think that it's like my message of caution, especially to young entrepreneurs who are scaling, but not just young entrepreneurs, to any entrepreneur who's scaling, is like on the way up, it can be very tempting to just like the temptation and the allure of a certain life, which is very
Yep.
tempting. You know, that kind of that Wolf of Wall Street kind of energy of like,
Yep.
and and I would say that, like, you know what, like, I'm not saying don't dip your feet in that. I'm not saying like don't get your taste of that, but do be wary
Yep.
that it can destroy you. It can
Yep.
destroy your business to be hung over
Yeah,
all the time, you
Jeremy.
know?
One
Yeah.
one thing one thing I want to touch on it again. Appreciate the kind words, guys. To anyone
This is
watching,
coffee, by the way.
yeah, straight after the health talk, pull out the
It's
whiskey now.
coffee.
No, Jeremy. To people watching, Jeremy is absolutely amazing, and he genuinely just wanted the floor to just go. No, let me just talk. That's it. So incredible stuff. And one thing I want to touch on, Jeremy, is actually the specific problems that you had. Right? It'd be great to go over like each one that you had before joining the program, and how each part of the program helped you fix that, man. Because your wide call, and again, in 2026, I still need to find a better name, a silent shark. To anyone watching this, Jeremy just made his intro post. I'm looking at it now in December, where he literally said, Huzzah, Jeremy's intro. And then 6 days ago, he said, 33K cash collected for January. Within three, those are the only two posts he made. We did not hear from him, between that. So I'd love to hear from you, Jeremy. Talk to us about the specific problems that you had, and then how you went about using the program to fix them without
Yeah.
even needing help from what it looks like, because you weren't even using the community.
Well, one of my problems was talking too much, I gotta say. But actually, that's no coincidence that you guys didn't hear from me between those two posts. My past self, the Jeremy of the past, would have been just like obsessively using the community, because and posting in the community. I mean, because I'm a I I'm innately, I've always been a very social animal, but that's one of the things right away that EasyGrow humbled me. Like, EasyGrow humbled me, because it's like, wow, if I've been in business for so long and I'm still struggling with some very foundational things, then truly, 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 I need to address that, and I need to really look at that. And so that was kind of the I guess the pill to swallow at the end of last year, at the end of 2025, was, you know what, there are some things that I'm great at, but there are some profound weaknesses that have stunted my growth. And some of it comes down to process, some of it comes down to systems, but some of it is as simple as charging more. Like,
Mm,
it's just, it sounds so trite because we say it a lot, but it's like, if you don't commit to a certain stand, if you're really good at something, if you're really good at what you do, it's like, it does not benefit us, it does not benefit you to charge less than you should be charging. And you know uh, when things got hard at certain points, we lowered that minimum standard. And I think if I could go back in time, I'd say to Jeremy of the past, I'd say, you know what, like, it's better to not have any money than it is to take on a client who is going to be pain in the ass for way less money than you should be charging them. Because and so that, just right there, that one little piece right there has made an instant difference in our quality of lives over here. Like, an instant difference in quality of life, just instantaneous. Just that one shift, that one little piece of just like, you know what, like, I know what the committing to a standard, committing to a direction. That's another thing too, is that, like, committing to a direction, saying, I said to my team, we're going to have very locked in focus this year, and and anytime I try, and I told my team, anytime I try to deviate from that focus, you're going to be like, you're going to help me, we're going to hold each other accountable. Because it is very tempting, especially like when literally the week that we said this is the direction we're committing to at the start of January, like, there were things buzzing, opportunities buzzing, opportunities. I was like, no, we're going to say no to those things. We're going to say no to those things that are buzzing. We're going to say those are distractions. And that's another thing too. Like, literally getting into this program, it didn't just fundamentally shift certain ways of thinking in the business. It didn't just fundamentally shift certain ways of thinking about the business. It also fundamentally shifted the ways that I'm thinking about my reality, in terms of
yep.
how I spend my time, in terms of how I think about where I put my energy, because that stuff right there matters so much. It matters. It matters sometimes more than your ad copy. Now we're not running paid ads right now. That's not where we're acquiring our clients. That's just an example. Like more than your ad copy sometimes. Like actually not sometimes. Like the way we live our lives matters more than it's in terms of client acquisition. So right off the bat, like just thinking more critically about, and so that's why you didn't even hear from me much in the community, because it's just like I needed to focus. I needed to, like, the past Jeremy would have been very social, and like, and I because I am very social, but like it's funny, I'm going through a season of like being less social so that I can focus on what really matters, which is building this dream, this vision that I've had forever, building this company into a successful machine, and creating that market of one. And that's another thing right there. Just jumping right into acquisition genesis really was just the gentle nudge I needed to say, like, no, like I haven't spent 15 years in my niche to not come out the other side of working with Imperium I haven't done that to do that, to not build a market of one. And what I mean by that is, like Charlie says right there in acquisition genesis, it's like, hey, like you just got to commit to a niche. And boy, let me tell you, I've committed 15 years, and I can tell you that with the mechanisms and processes, because it's the processes where we were weak. And right there in acquisition genesis, I'm already thinking about process differently. That I'm already understanding that the reason we have grown so slowly and our growth has been stunted in the past is because of complexity creep. Is another one of the reasons. Complexity creep and changing offers, and like, but when something works, you keep doing it. And that's another thing too. In the past, we've had things that worked and then we like changed it for whatever reason, or like we've had things that worked up to a certain point in the pipe. And so right there, where with Charlie mapping the pipe, in terms of the system, all the systems in the pipe, and all the micro subsystems in the pipe, again, back to the cracks in the submarine, the tiny little subsystems in your pipe, you know half of your pipe can be doing great, but downstream of that, if you've got little cracks, little bottlenecks that are choking the system, then it can break the whole pipe, and in the past, like in 2021, we figured out how to get a lot of appointments, but it was like trying to capture a waterfall with a jar. And so coming into EasyGrow, it wasn't even necessarily our problem that we didn't know how to get appointments. It was a lot of other really actually quite foundational things, that but even right down to offer, even right down to choosing a direction, and choosing, like, choosing new standards, believe in
Yeah.
holding ourselves to those standards, and really committing to those standards, and being fierce about committing to those standards, and not letting ourselves be sidetracked, not breaking our focus to things that just don't serve the greater
Jeremy,
mission. Yeah.
touching on that
Yes.
actually. Yeah, that's an amazing point you raised, because so many people in the space, they're always looking at the magic script, the magic niche, the magic this, the magic that. From your experience being in the program and whatnot, right? How important are those foundational elements, and doing the basics and getting the basics right, and actually understanding the why behind the how, right? Because again, and this would be great coming from you, because you have a wealth of experience, because most people will look at this, especially beginners, ironically, and they'll say, oh, this is just baby stuff, we don't need that, we need the magic script and this and that. But how important were those fundamentals to your success that you've had so far in such a short space of time, man?
I love everything you just said. Con- and this is what I told my team too, because literally my chief of staff is a former agency owner that at one point he had an agency that was doing pretty okay. Um, right there, what you just said about coming in and feeling some resistance to, like, oh man, this is baby stuff, this is like just all like fundamental, I need that script right there, that resistance. I almost felt a tinge of it of like, man, is this going to be review? I did feel some resistance at first. I was like, is this going to be review? Like, do I need to watch all of these videos? And I am so glad that I leaned in. It was that moment of humility I was telling you about. That moment of humility of like, you know what? If I've been in the game for as long as I have and I'm not already at eight figures, then truly I need to sit with this stuff. And so that's big right there. And understanding the why behind the how is everything, because the way we think will determine the outcomes of our business. The way we live will determine the outcomes of our business. And I already kind of knew that coming into the program, but when I leaned into the program, leaned into the fundamentals, I've been rewatching those things. I've been rewatching modules from Acquisition Genesis, and I'm going to rewatch Self Transcendence with my wife. I've been rewatching that content just so that it like really clicks in my brain, because it's exactly like you said, there is no magic script. And funny enough, we thought that we had found one. In 2021, we found a script. We have it. We found a mechanism. We found a magic script, and it did unlock hundreds of appointments for us. And guess what? It also broke the business. It broke the business because we didn't have a lot of key things right, and right down to our offers. Like, we didn't have a lot of key things right in the business. And so it's like there's a lot of guru bros out there, a lot of agency bros out there will preach the gospel of, yeah, bro, just go close deals, bro, just go close deals and collect cash, and just you worry about the rest later. And like, a smidge of that, you need a smidge of that just to get going, right? But no, like, that isn't the mindset. That isn't the mentality. Like, that isn't the way. It's like if you, and I know, having drank that Kool-Aid, I drank that Kool-Aid of, we're going to go in and we're going to close deals, and it's going to be all about sales, and fuck the rest. We're going to figure it out along the way. And like, a little bit of that is healthy, but too much of that, and you can really create a disaster. And so I'm fortunate to have been blessed with an intense amount of suffering before coming to the program, such that the moment I start listening to the program, I'm like, yep, everything Charlie's saying, yep, checks a box, checks a box. And then he gets to a point, and I'm like, oh, and that's why. And then he gets to a point, and then he's like, oh, yeah, and that's why. And then, another thing you said there, it's like, niches, man. Every niche is broken, and every
Mm-hmm.
niche is
Yeah.
beautiful. Every niche
Yeah.
sucks, and every niche is beautiful. I had a guy call me a few weeks back. He wanted to know what he should do. He was in another thing, and he was like struggling, and I'm just like, I just knew him from another agency community, and this guy was like, I don't know, man. I've got like my HVAC and my real estate, and I don't know. I'm thinking about jumping into what you're doing. I'm like, whoa, hold on. Like, what's
Yeah.
wrong with your HVAC? What's wrong with your HVAC? And he's like, well, I don't know. Just everyone in HVAC is broke. And I'm like, well, hold on a second.
The grass
Ev-
always looks greener on the other
yeah,
side.
grass
Yeah.
always looks greener.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
as Hermosi said, it was fertilized with shit. The grass looks
Yeah.
greener because it was fertilized with shit. And
That's it.
always true. It's so every niche, and
Facts.
so like literally, if you're watching this for the first time and you are just now, and you're trying to figure out what niche to go into, just know all the niches suck. All of the niches have broke people. All of the niches have rich people. I know, because I'm in the book publishing niche. No one would think in the world that that would be a niche that has rich people. And yet, that's not true, because Hermosi has spent millions of dollars on his books. And I know that's not true because I've had fiction authors spend six figures with me. So, like, but you go out in the general public to the modern civilians, and you say, yeah, I own a publishing company, publishing agency. No one is thinking that authors are going to spend that kind of money. And the other thing too is that, like, so if you want to talk about broke niches, like, I can talk all day long about broke niches, and I can tell you that the brokest of the broke niches still have rich people. All of them, they all have rich people, that because if a lot of people watching this probably want to sell to rich people, and guess what, they all have rich people. Every
Mm-hmm.
niche is
Mm-hmm.
going to have rich people.
That's it.
But have you done the work? Here's something for the agency owner coming up. or any business owner coming up, have you done the work to be able to charge rich people prices?
Yep, exactly that.
Have you suffered enough to charge rich people prices? That's a big thing. That's a big thing. 10 years ago, I wanted six-figure clients and I tried desperately to get them. And I thought that all my problems were going to be solved when I got them. And it was I didn't get my first six-figure client until 2021. So and 10 years ago in 2026 and 2025, I was trying to get six-figure clients. I didn't get my first six-figure client until 2021.
That's it.
And so anyways, I'll hand it back to you, Nor.
No, that's it. Jeremy, you're absolutely cooking. Like I said, this is a one of a kind interview, and it's absolutely amazing to see how much the program has really positively impacted you. Because yeah, typically whenever we don't hear from a client, we're like, "Yo, what's going on?" But then you came. This is this is wonderful. It's a beautiful surprise because again, we're like, yo, where's Jeremy's post between the intro and the win? So now it's so amazing to hear it in more detail from you, man. And I know for a fact that the people watching are going to find a lot of value from it. Jeremy, question for you, and I know you briefly touched on it, just now, but it'd still be relevant to a lot of people watching from the community. Typically, right, as we sort of close this off, two groups of people watch the interview. The first of which current clients, the second of which people that have yet to even purchase the program. Okay. I want to start with the current clients. And I know you already dropped some gold and advice for them throughout, but to current clients in EasyGrow, what would you say is the best piece of advice you can give to them in order for them to succeed?
Stay humble, take it slow. I mean, it's not what anybody wants to hear. Because I know that when I started the program, I wanted to move really, it's hilarious actually, because all of December we slowed things down. Like, I'm dead serious. You wouldn't think that. You sometimes you go faster when you slow down, and that's literally what we had to do. That's literally what we did. I hopped in actually in November. I didn't make my intro post until December. I think it was the last week in November. Yeah, it was like the very end of November that I signed up for EasyGrow, and when we joined, we were in a dead ass hurry. Because it was like I had two people that I've been on my payroll for a while that I'm just like, all right, I got to bring in more cash flow or I'm not going to be able to keep these people. And like, they don't cost a lot, but like, as you saw in December, I only collected 15K. So to have two other people on my payroll for the business to
Mm,
only collect 15K is
yeah.
pretty abysmal, right? To when I've got a family to support. And so all of this, like, but literally December, like all of December, I was like, I came into the program expecting that to be moving really fast, and then it was the opposite. And because right after the first like hour and a half of videos, I was like, okay, I got it. And I was like, we need to take our time. And I told the team, I was like, guys, I know we're all in a hurry. I
Yeah.
know we've all been feeling it, but and I said to Jason and to Bryce, and I said, guys, we gotta slow down. Like, we gotta slow down and really listen to this stuff, really take it in, really think critically. And so December was such a chill month in a good way. Like, in the sense that like we just listened to the trainings, but we didn't just listen. It wasn't like passive listening. It wasn't like passively binging content. We were like, it was hard. I mean, it was hard work. So you don't think of watching a training as hard work, but it was hard work because I was also doing the work, and my notebooks are full. My notebooks are full of good stuff, and I was doing the hard inner work of like really like asking myself the hard questions, starting right with the beginning. Like the from the very beginning of the trainings, I was like asking myself, am I in the right business? Am I in the right vehicle? Am I in the right niche? Do I have the right offers? Am I focusing on the right subset of the niche? And so, like, I'm asking these really good questions, but I'm also asking myself, where have I failed? Where have I failed that my numbers are not way higher than they are? Where have I failed? Where have I gone wrong? And but then also giving myself a little bit more grace than that, which is like, well, no, in some areas I just didn't have the tools. And then here's EasyGrow giving us the tools. So to
Yeah.
anyone just like starting out in this thing, in this program, or anyone in this program, just like slow down, stay humble, take your time. It's okay. Like, I really felt like Charlie gave me the permission. Almost, it's almost like Charlie, I didn't need Charlie's permission, but it's almost like Charlie gave me the permission to take my time right in acquisition genesis, when he's talking about, like, yeah, like, these goals don't necessarily have a time, like the like, and it's like, I've already spent all this time. But then also hearing, it's like, when you focus on the right asymmetries, when you focus on the right leverage points, like, you could literally, and as you've seen, as I've proven, all of December, we just took our time. And then January, it was just like boom. And because we focused on the most asymmetric stuff first, okay, tweaking our offer, and literally just the smallest little things, yet the most asymmetric things, tweaking our offer, the way we're speaking to these prospects, the way we think about how the offer is fulfilled, the way we think about how much money we have to charge for the offer in order for it to be fulfilled comfortably, but also the way we have to think about being just a little bit uncomfortable in terms of, like, the offer has to be sexy enough that they feel stupid saying no, right? So we tweaked it with just the slightest bit, which is like, hey, you know what? We're with you until you achieve this result. It's basically like the results we basically put into our offer now are forcing us to have skin in the game without it being a deadly liability, which is really nice. And so but with it being just enough of a liability that if we weren't to succeed in our mission, that we would feel it. But because we've already been doing it a long time, we know, like, we're making an offer that we know we can fulfill. Actually, we're making an offer that we know we have the ability to fulfill blindfolded with our hands tied behind our back. But part of that too is the asymmetric leverage of inside of the Done With You program, making sure the clients have to
Yeah.
have more responsibility. So that's an interesting
That's it.
thing too. Yeah, go ahead,
Yeah.
get it.
I was going to say, Jeremy, last question for you, and this one, this one will end on a bang, right? Because it's quite interesting here, as it will almost be like you're selling back to yourself. What would you say to someone that has yet to join the program, and maybe they're on the fence, maybe they want to think about it, or maybe they, similar to you, right? They've probably taken a ton of other coaching, and they probably come across, the ads and the YouTube, thinking, "Oh, what's different about this?" What would you say to someone who's not inside it yet?
Just join, just sign up, just do it. If you're on the fence and you're not sure if Imperium or Easy Grow is for you, I can tell you right now that I've been in other agency programs. I've invested in other coaching communities, and this is just different. It's just not. It's because, and it doesn't just give you the tactics. It helps you in the very deep. It helps your soul. Like, this program, it's like better than CrossFit for your business. Like, if you imagine like having like CrossFit for your business, it's even better than that, because it's like you get the structure, and you get the disciplined trainings of the structure and the tactics, but then you also are faced with a very foundational look inside of, are you even in the right business? Should you be in the business that you're in? What business do you really want to be in? Is this the right, and then if you're on the fence, I can understand why, but you will thank yourself, to make this investment in yourself. I'm not being paid to say this. Like, this is very real shit. Like,
Yep.
I'm so thankful to myself that I took the risk. And I was very cash strapped last year. I was very cash strapped. And today I have more cash in the bank than I have ever had, actually. No fucking cap, as the Gen Zs say. Like we that's another thing too. I don't know, something Charlie said about like, hey, like he said something about when he would like let his account slip below 10K, and then like he wouldn't let his account slip below 10K. We finished January. We had a bunch of bills at the start of February, but we finished January with like 45 grand in the account, just in
Nice.
the account. That's not that, and
Love it.
so that's not very much money in the grand scheme of things. But for me, coming from the Midwest, having struggled in business forever, that I've never closed out a month with just like 45K just like in liquid before. Just like that's never that and to some of you are like, wow, only 45K. But like, no, like that's crazy for me. Like that's a huge quantum leap, considering in the middle of last year my accounts were overdrawn. And we aim to close out, we've increased our expenses have increased just marginally, but we're looking to close February with more cash than we started, and so like I guess all I can say is like, if you don't take the risk on yourself, then why should, if you're not willing to take the risk on yourself, why should anybody else? If
Yeah,
you're not willing to invest in yourself, why should anybody else? And so
absolutely.
it's like and Charlie and the Imperium team have set it up in such a way that you literally can't fail. It's like the offer outcome is so great. It's like literally you get 5K and your money back if you fail. It's like it's just dumb not to try. It's like what it's like. So it's like you can't say no to that, and
That's it.
it's proof in the pudding.
That's it. There we are. Wow. What an ending. Guys, Jeremy's only been with us. It's only been 2 months, Jeremy, from what I can see. So I'm going to mark this as a part one. I know for a
Part
fact
one.
Jeremy has more to say.
Oh,
I
there's
know he
more.
does. And it's going to be good. Okay. It's going to be good. So please keep a lookout for part two with Jeremy. Again, it's only been 2 months. I'm going to stay in touch with Jeremy. Hopefully, he's going to have time for us to do a part two because, like I said, he is part of the Silent Shark crew. He don't say anything in the group and they smash it with the program and then they pop up out of the blue and we absolutely love it. So listen, guys, keep an eye out for part two. Jeremy, where can they keep up with you, man? Obviously, you hold on publishing, but do you have like socials and
Jeremy
stuff?
Gottwalls. Jeremy Gottwalls. Jeremy Jeremy. Gottwalls. Gottwalls like the question. Gottwalls, but there's one L.
That's it.
GOTWALS. Yeah,
That's a
Jeremy
nice little way
Gottwalls.
of
Yeah.
framing it. There we are. Got walls. That's it.
Yeah.
Cool, guys. Be sure to keep up with Jeremy. Like I said, you can even interrogate him. Say, hey, are you a paid actor? I can assure you, I'm
No.
sure you can tell that none of this was scripted.
I have paid, and I will happily do it again.
That's it. There we are. All right, guys. Take care of yourself. We'll catch you in the part two. Cheers, guys. Bye.
Rock and roll. Yeah.